Hey y'all, how you doing today? All right. Um, I've had a viewer request for some information and some help with their vehicle. Their vehicle in question is a Dodge Avenger. Now, let me go ahead and start this video off by saying the Avenger I had in a lot of the videos, that car is long gone. Okay, so my ability to go to it and like reference off of it and things like that, all of that's done and over with. So, moving on. However, there is a lot of stuff that crosses over from one vehicle to another. Okay? Now, my particular viewer has um, an issue with his airbag light and with his seatbelt light on his dash. Now I haven't seen the car, so it's going to be pretty hard for me to say anything one way or the other. The best thing I can do to explain all of this is to make this video, which is what I'm doing now. Instead of going into a very long, drawn out explanation of everything. So, what I'm going to try to do here and attempt to do is to give you, the viewer, some help as to like diagnosing the problem, what you need to be looking for, what you don't need to be looking for, and everything else. Now, up front, several things. One, if the car has been abused heavily, okay, you know, tremendous amount of miles on it, or the car's just been abused a heck of a lot, even with maybe not a whole lot of miles on it. If that's the case, then you may be fighting an uphill battle. Okay, just going to be honest with you. All right. Secondly, um, get yourself some help, as in like these guys right here. You see these? These are your best friends when it comes to like diagnosing a problem in a vehicle. You notice this one's got a lot of notes and printouts and everything else inside of it. All right, these are my own manuals. Okay. Now, I'm going off of the viewer's comments and questions about his airbag system. So, that his airbag light is coming on and staying on, from the best I can tell from his comments. Now, it says here a clock spring. The clock spring is mounted mounted on the steering column behind the steering wheel. Its purpose is to maintain a continuous electrical circuit between the wiring harness and the driver's side airbag module. This assembly consists of a flat ribbon-like electrically conductive tape, basically a very thin strip of metal, that winds and winds and unwinds with the steering column rotation. Okay? Now, that is for an airbag light, that's probably going to be one of your more common things that's going to go wrong, is the clock spring. Okay? Now, I drew these two little circles, but basically they have like inside that clock spring, they just have like a couple of strips of metal that ride on a couple of circular strips. Okay? And they just main contact. So these circular strips will most likely be powered by electrical current from the car's electrical system, and then these two rubbing strips that rub up against them will be supplying power to the airbag and to other accessories like in the steering wheel, like radio switches or stuff like that. Okay, so now this truck doesn't have that, but the if in the case of your car, you will have the clock spring behind here in the steering column, which means you'll have to remove the steering wheel. Now, and the airbag. Take very, 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 very a lot of caution when we're messing with your airbag. When it comes to messing with that airbag, be very, very careful. Okay, them things have a lot of power in them. they can seriously hurt you if they go off. There is a lot of information out there about how to remove them and how to get them out and get them out of the way and everything else. Okay? So, furthermore, in your car, in your Avenger, you're going to have, this truck doesn't have it, but down here under the dash on your Avenger, you're going to have a port. That is an OBD2 port. You can take that car to like any AutoZone or Advanced Auto Parts and you can have it scanned for codes. Okay? If you have a code scanner yourself, you can scan it yourself. Most of these auto parts places don't charge anything to scan for codes. So, just something to remember there. Alright? Now, that at least gets you in the ballpark. When you get the codes, the code numbers, record them down, either on a piece of paper or on your phone or something like that. Okay? Once you have those codes recorded, you're going to want to go through them and figure out which ones are which. Okay? Basically, you're going to want to go through them and figure out which ones are going to pertain most to your particular situation or problem in the car. You do not want to be like running around chasing your tail. What you may want to actually do is go ahead and record the codes that you're going to get from them reading the codes off. Okay, record them all, and then go and have the codes cleared in the vehicle. Okay. Some places will do this, some places will not. Okay. If they let you use the code scanner, you can clear them out yourself. Most of those code scanners are pretty self-explanatory. They'll do that for you. Okay. Or they'll show you how to do that. Most of the code scanners will. As a matter of fact, there's probably tons of videos about this on YouTube right now. So, furthermore, you can take and sometimes you can also take the battery cable loose, one of the battery cables loose, and leave it loose for, several minutes. You might even want to leave it loose for overnight, to clear the codes out of the vehicle. Now, the reason for this is if you get the codes cleared out, you can go back, hook the battery cable back up, drive the vehicle, start it up and drive it, and see if the codes come back. Whichever ones come back, that's going to be your ones that are going to be most pertinent. That's going to be the ones that are active at that time. All right? Not, some code from, like, say, a year ago or 2 years ago or whatever. There's no sense in going after those because, well, they're old codes and they're just being stored in the history there. Okay, so there's no point going after those. Now, you're going to want to also get yourself some basic tools. Okay, now these are basic tools to diagnose any sort of electrical issues on virtually any kind of vehicle out there. Okay, one of them that is very handy is just a test light. Simple as that. Okay. All it has is one end has this screwdriver like probe end, okay? The other end, just an alligator clip. And it's really, really brutally simple. Take your alligator clip, usually clip that onto like a ground. Then you can use this end to probe around to find wires or connections that have power on them. Now you can reverse these too as well. So you can put this on power and put this to a ground. Now, when you do this, whether you're using this on the ground or this on the ground, what you're trying to do is you're trying to complete a circuit. And when you do, there's a light bulb in here that lights up. Okay? Let me show you. It's really simple. All right. We have a battery. We have several batteries. Okay. Now, we have our ground here on this battery, and we have a positive over here. As you can see, we have light, disconnect. Okay, simple, simple, simple. Now, we can reverse it. I can put the connector, the alligator connector, on the power and take my light and touch it to the negative. As you can see, we have light. Okay, so you can use this tool pretty effectively to diagnose electrical problems in your vehicles. Okay. Furthermore, if we want to get a little bit more elaborate, here is a multimeter. Volt, or some people might call this a volt ohm amp meter. Okay, so you can just turn it on. I've got it on volts AC. Here's volts DC. Of course, you can turn it off. Then you can also check ohms. And this one here with the correct kind of thing, you can even check temperatures on stuff too. Well, the correct kind of probe, that is. Now, this has these kind of ends on it. All right. So you can check to see if you're getting power. This would be your ground, so you would hook that up to like a ground somewhere, and you can see if you're getting power somewhere with this end here. And then it would read it on here. Okay? Pretty simple. All right? So, now, as far as like your light on the dash about your airbag, chances are, like I said, is probably, most likely, it's going to be a clock spring. Most likely. That's not a guarantee to say that it is. However, if it is the clock spring, they go bad, that's it. There's no surface in them. Okay? And all the trouble you're going to go through to replace it, I don't think I'd get a used one. I would go get a brand new one somewhere. Okay? But like I said before, handling the airbag, be extremely careful. Extreme caution is advised. All right? So, I warned you. Now, furthermore, when it comes to, they have to have connection. Okay? So, if you get a new airbag clock spring, they'll have instructions with it. It'll tell you everything you need to do. But they have to have connection to the electrical system. If they don't, that could be why the light is coming on. Okay? Or the clock spring has broke down inside, and its movement back and forth like that has broken something inside, and it's lost connection. Okay. Now, moving on to the seat belt light. Somebody asked about that. He also asked about that. Okay. Pretty simple. The seat belts on most vehicles, sorry, around here. All right. Okay, the seat belt is a pretty lowly thing, but it's actually pretty important. Very important, actually. This one here, if I can find it, does it still have the... Okay, these seat belts actually came out of like a minivan, a Dodge minivan from like the early 2000s. Okay, so it even has the part that goes in right over there. Now, they usually have an electrical connection, wires that come out of this and goes down, and it hooks to a harness, some wires. They go up here in the dash, and it will show a light on the dash that says your seatbelt is not, you haven't hooked up your seatbelt. Haven't put your seatbelt on yet. So, what could be going on is those wires could have come unhooked, or if the car has mice in it, mice could have chewed through the wires. Okay? Basically, this is an off and on switch. Okay? Not this particular part, but there's a basic little switch down inside here that can be turned off and on by putting the seatbelt thing inside. Okay, so a seat belt. We're going to call that a tongue. Okay, goes inside here. There we go. All right. Now, normally that would turn the light off on the dash. Okay, but if this is a very common problem, if you have like drinks and other such things that are spilled, food, all kinds of stuff like that that gets spilled inside here, this will cause that switch to stay to not make contact inside here and cause the light to stay on all the time. Okay, now I'm saying this in a basic sense. Okay, so what you're going to need to do, like I said earlier, get yourself a manual on your car and figure out what's going on in here. Now, these things are so common and cheap that I would not go very deep into like disassembling this, trying to figure out what's going on or anything like that. However, if your car has had a lot of your seatbelt receivers have had a lot of crap in them, dirt, food or drink being spilled in them or something else, or like I said before, mice that has chewed on the wires that are underneath the seat, by the way, these could all be problems causing your seatbelt light to stay on. If that is the case, I would first, of course, check your wires under your seat. It's going to be a little bit of trouble, but not real bad. Once you get that checked out and the connection, okay, so there'll be a connector that'll be on the wires that go into this. That connector, if there's a lot of moisture or dirt or corrosion in that connector, it will cause that connector to not make connection and cause the light to come on and stay on. But if these have been damaged, I would just recommend replacing them altogether. You can go to a salvage yard, get some more. There's probably a few Avengers in the salvage yard, and most likely the same seat belts that's in that Avenger are going to be in whatever kind of car. They'll be in a few other kinds of Dodge or Plymouth or Chrysler vehicles from that same time frame. Okay, so let's say your car's a 2010. I would not be surprised to see the same seat belts in a 2000, as far back as maybe 2005, and maybe as new as maybe 2015. So don't be surprised. So, okay, I hope this helps. If there is any other information I can give you. Oh, one more thing. These meters, while they do, some of the better ones are really expensive, you can get, sometimes score a pretty good deal on used ones. It doesn't have to be a Craftsman brand. It can be other brands, okay? But you can get these pretty inexpensively. The really cheap ones, like in Walmart or something like that, they'll be okay for a while, but after they get banged around a few times, then they don't work very good. Same goes for these test lights. This one here is quite a few years old, but it's a really good one. But you can get inexpensive ones, for just a few dollars at auto parts stores, and they're not too bad either. Okay, so I hope that helps you. Again, like I said, if you have any other or anything else, please post it down below. And I thank you very much for watching. I thank you very much for all the comments and the likes and the subscribes and the shares and everything. And I'm up to over 190 subscribers now. It's really just blows my mind. But I really thank you all for that. Really seriously do. So anyway, best of luck and God bless. And again, if there's anything else I can do to help, I'll do whatever I can, okay? Thank you very much. God bless.